vending there, as we did with the beach and park vending, but we've included that for the mobile vending, so to go from spot to spot, but during events and road closures, they would not be allowed to go in there.
Councillor Sanders.
Thank you. I just wondered, through you to Mr. Lowen, we've set a parameter to be cognizant of the restaurant sector. Have we had any feedback from them on it?
I have had absolutely no complaints or comments from any part of the food and beverage sector on whether it's a street vending on Main Street or whether it's the vending on the both Waterfront, Skaha and Okanagan. So
then it would appear that we have found a comfort zone there. So I thank you for that. My other questions are, on the sites, it's number 8 is the Bambino Fields parking lot. I have no familiarity with that. I didn't know where that was.
That's adjacent to the Westminster Wine Center.
Okay,
by Penticton Convention Center. Yes. So basically off Alberni.
Thank you for that. I learned something new. Do you anticipate any difficulty with your comment that these mobile vendors may travel to any or all of these locations during the course of the day with no exclusion or specifically designated site for their operation? Are we going to get into scenarios where you've got 2 people going to the same spot?
We are restricting it to 4 mobile vendors, motorized to begin with, and if all 4 are at that parking lot, God bless them.
Okay, that's fair enough. And my final question is, why would there be the difference in the hours of operation? I read with interest that all seasonal vending is from 7 to dusk on a daily basis, whereas off-seasonal vending would be permitted from 7 to 9 p.m. To me, in the summer, I find people are out and about later. There's more daylight, the weather is warm. So I was interested in that time factor because I would have presumed we would leave them later in the summer when there's lots of people out on the street and they may have opportunity.
Good question. Generally in the summertime, dusk is beyond 9 p.m. It can go as far as 10 p.m. or even later.
Fair enough.
Daylight savings.
Super. Thank you very much.
Asked and answered. Looking for a motion. Councillor Robinson, moved and seconded. All right, all those in favor? Oh, yes, it was.
And this may be a relic of the past, but what happens if someone wanted to have an ice cream truck go drive around town? I don't know if that's the case anymore, but...
I didn't know that they had ice cream trucks in your youth. They did in my youth. However,
not
yes,
that old, or that young.
We have not gone into that, basically going from neighborhood to neighborhood as the ice cream man used to do it, or the knife sharpening man.
It was always like $9 for ice cream.
Yeah, and we thought that we'd enter into this mobile vending with kind of a pilot program first of all, and if it's successful or not, look at other opportunities, which may definitely include going from neighborhood to neighborhood with your ice cream truck or bike. Yeah.
Okay, the question's been called. All those in favor? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to terms of reference for Protective Services Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Protective Services Advisory Committee has been dormant for a number of years, and at the October 7th meeting, Councillor Robinson was appointed. Now the city needs to appoint other members and approve a new terms of reference. The terms of reference, the draft provided to you was based on the old terms of reference with sort of the new language that we just developed a few months ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Robinson. Okay, moved and seconded. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I can't wait for this committee to get up and running again. Strangely enough, this is where I finished my career in politics a few years ago, was sitting on this same committee. I think, though, we've seen such a dramatic increase in a lot of natural disasters worldwide, I think it's very timely that we bring this one back, and I can see where it's going to be very well timed and very necessary in the future to be well prepared.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Conans.
Yes, thanks to the Chair. I was just wondering, thinking that we may want to add someone from the Penticton Indian Band as a representation on that committee.
That would be in order if you wanted to make that amendment.
I'd like to make
I think
that.
we worked on the terms of reference from previous committees,
Okay.
and
I think it would be good to have, if we could amend that, that would be
that'd be fine.
a good representation of the community.
Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think perhaps it might be best to invite them, and if they would like to be a member on that committee, then do so, because we have had in the past where we put spots for people, and then if they're not able to show up, that affects the capacity to have a meeting if you don't have quorum. I agree it's a good idea. Perhaps we should invite them to see if they would like to sit on the committee, and then add them if that's the case.
So if you maybe would hold on to that thought, because I agree with Councillor Hopkins, to just simply expect them to appear might be presumptuous on our part. They may not have an interest. So let's find out, first of all, if they're interested. And if they are, then it would be appropriate for us to make that amendment at a future meeting.
That would be great. Thanks.
Is that okay? Okay, thanks. Any other comment? Councillor Sintis.
Thank you, Mayor Litkey. In reference to number 8, where the committee's mandate is to make recommendations to council on all matters referred to the committee by council, and it gives some examples, and it's very heavily weighted to fire. And you know, when I think about the tragedy that has hit many of our neighbors in Alberta with water and flooding, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a consideration for us to include in there water, flooding. We do sit between two lakes. We do have our creeks, and definitely, you know, we have some measures in control. But I'd just like us to be conscious of that natural emergency as well, because it is very heavily weighted to fire.
How would it be, Councillor Robinson, if you took this as a proposal back to the committee to see what kind of amendments, because the committee is going to be having to work with its terms of reference, right? And we might make suggestions here for some time, and we'll take it back to the committee, and they still might not like it. So would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Maybe we could have some suggestions, and I'll bring them back to council and for your perusal. For instance, like with the emergency plan, the emergency preparedness which includes flooding and fire and a variety of different disasters. That's all included in that. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, all of Canada was using the model that came from Penticton. I was not aware of that until council sent me down to Ontario to go through the emergency preparedness planning college. And I got there and found out that it was, in fact, our fire chief of the day who had brought up that model with his staff. So it was a very proud moment for me as a councillor. I understand we use some different ones now, some of it stemming from the wildfires in California and other places in the world. It all goes under the BC Fire Chiefs Association and through the Justice Institute now, but it's fascinating, and I'll certainly bring back all the information I can, and we'll make sure that it's a well-rounded committee.
Perfect. So any other comments from council? So if you have any, you can pass them on to Councillor Robinson, and you'll take this back to the committee, and maybe at the next meeting you can bring back some amendments to the terms of reference. Okay, good. Okay, so the motion then will be to simply approve the terms as they have been written. They could be amended, but as they stand now, a motion to approve. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on then to the quarterly update for the period ending September 30th, 2013.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move receipt of the report.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Any discussion around the report? Questions? No, seeing none. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you for the good work once again, and for the stewardship report. It's always interesting to see where we are with the number of initiatives that we pass, and they don't just disappear. They go onto staff desks, and they actually get done. That's great to see. The 20, where are we now? Well, what does that include the RCMP detachment report?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the minutes, the Agricultural Advisory Committee minutes. A motion to receive, first of all. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Minutes are received. There's a motion coming out of those minutes. Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, there was discussion. Mr. Kunka from the Building Department, Planning Department, came to talk to the committee about changes and review they're conducting of the, let me get the acronym right, the LLRTC, the Liquor Licensing Technical Review Committee, and there was a request to have someone from the agriculture community sit on that board, given the concerns that we've had with regards to some urban agricultural land use conflicts when it comes to some of the wineries and other establishments. So the committee recommended that Gordon Naish, who's a member of the committee, be appointed as the agricultural representative on the LLRTC, and that he be included in the discussions and review of that policy going forward. So.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions on the recommendation? Okay, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the Transportation Advisory Committee minutes. Motion to receive, first of all. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Minutes are received. Something coming out of those minutes? Councillor Robinson.
Yes, Your Worship. It was moved and seconded that the Transportation Committee recommended that we amend our terms of reference to include a BC Transit representative, and that the appointed representative should be allowed to join the meeting via telephone conference when required. The committee had quite a lengthy discussion about it and thought that that would be most appropriate, because they're not here all the time.
Okay.
But we could certainly do it by teleconferencing.
So are you moving that?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to that? Seconded. Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Councillor Jacobite.
And I'm sure it was discussed in your deliberations, but with having our staff resource there, having the contractor, Barry and Smith, and having Handy Dart there, like, and if there was a need for BC Transit, they usually came as a delegation, so they could be part of a delegation via teleconference as well. But to be part of the committee, would they be required, you know, on a monthly basis type of thing? That was my only question.
Thank you. Through the chair, the feeling in the room was that it would be of benefit to the committee to have that kind of representation there, and apparently I think the gentleman in that they were referring to usually makes it to most of the meetings anyway. I think this was just a formalization of what was already going on. That was my understanding at any rate.
Okay, because that would have been my question as well, because as a member of the committee, they need to actually attend the meetings, and you miss 3 meetings in a row and your membership is in jeopardy. But if they are actually there as a voting member, that's what the committee wants. They want to have, all right? Okay, sounds good. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll call the question on the recommendation. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you for that. Next one, Waterfront Enhancement Select Committee minutes. First of all, a motion to receive. All those in favor? Those minutes are received. And there's a recommendation coming out of that one. Who wants to, Councillor Conans, would you like to take that?
Sure. The first recommendation is that the Waterfront Enhancement Select Committee recommends to Council to deny support for the installation of a caboose at the Marina Way Lookout, and that the Council endorse the concept of a flat car on the Marina Way Lookout Park. And basically what it was is a discussion of the new park on the Marina Way Lookout having a historical aspect to it, because was the original site of the CN Rail. Look at Councillor Hopkins. CP, thank you. CP Rail was there, and so we thought we'd have a historical aspect to that particular park. But I think the committee was very cognizant of the fact that the caboose could cost quite a bit of money to look proper, to not look like just a piece of wrecked train at the end of the out on the beach, so, or out in the lookout. So I think that it would have cost too much, but the flat car idea, definitely, I think that the committee wanted staff to look into that particular item.
So are you moving that recommendation?
I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any questions or comments on that motion, on that recommendation? Councillor Vasilaki.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there was some kind of a historical thing there, what's so historical about a flat car? I mean, the historical part of a train was the caboose and the motor in the front. I mean, the flat cars in between, just a flat deck